People tryna say I'm only enemy. Got a code with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen.
What's up, everybody? We got some great playing games to talk about. We've already watched some great ones. But after the first round, we have Memphis playing against the Dallas Mavericks. And on the Eastern Conference side, we have the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat. JJ, how do you feel about what we've seen so far?
I feel like we were looking real sharp with that Dallas pick.
Bro, people hated that one. They did
I know
not
they
like that
did.
one.
I had to go back and look at those comments. I was like, wow. This is Sacramento has not been playing good basketball, so I was very surprised by people's reactions.
Like it's like we forget that Dallas has been injured like the entire season and just got healthy. Now people are
Yeah.
surprised they're half decent. Like, come on now. But now they're playing the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are another team where they've been a roller coaster, but you look at their roster and you're like, okay, this team should be good. However, they also did fire their coach 10 games ago. A lot has changed, and that's what we're here to talk about. The first big change that the new coach that happened pretty much immediate in the first game was they're using the pick and roll a lot more frequently, which makes sense when you have John Moran and Zach Edey. One, that's kind of what you drafted Zach Edey for. They like kind of that Steven Adams role. And then two, John Morant is John Morant. You want to get him in the most optimal spots possible. However, switching or running pick and rolls into Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, it kind of brings up a different challenge than most teams. So, one, do we expect that to work? Two, if it doesn't work, where do they go instead? I think that's the biggest questions for me on the Grizzlies offensive side.
Yeah, this offense, if the offense, if they can't attack the paint, it's gonna be real tough here. And they're, obviously they're gonna have to be forced to shoot threes. And I don't think they have the 3-point shooting to keep up with Dallas. I mean, because Luke Kennard is not really getting many minutes. He's not taking many shots when he does get minutes.
He shot one shot last game, and it was because it was the end of the quarter, and he just chucked it up. And he made it, by the way. Or no, that was one of two shots. But yeah, he's not getting many minutes. He's not shooting much when he is in there. The coach clearly doesn't have a role for him. That it happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, somebody's got to bring a spark. And honestly, I don't know who that's going to be. I mean, do you have like an X factor for the Grizzlies here?
I want it to be Scottie Pippen, but he's so undersized against the Mavericks team with so much size that it's like putting him at the 3 and expecting him to do it feels like asking him to do a lot. But he's shooting 50% on catch and shoot threes since the break. He's only taken like 3 a game, which if I'm a Mavs fan, I'd be yelling at him to shoot it more. But that's just kind of the place that we're in. If he is in at the 3, that means he's getting matched up with like a PJ Washington or Najee Marshall, potentially, which, again, very big size advantage. John Moran is gonna, which by the way, John Moran didn't practice today. We're expecting him to play regardless, but that is something that we got to keep an eye on. But we're assuming he plays. So John Moran, he has to get downhill and basically make some tough buckets at the basket, because if he doesn't, and they stop sending help, now those kickouts to Scottie Pippen and Desmond Bane with a guy that has an extra foot of reach on him contesting their shots becomes significantly more difficult. You need them to respect the drive in order for those guys to get the open looks that they need. And that's going to be the biggest thing for me, because if it doesn't work, the only alternative I can see is asking Jaren Jackson to go cook. And you're asking him to do that against Anthony Davis, which, again, you're asking him to do a lot more than he probably should in terms of being this reason you win or lose this game.
Yeah.
I don't like this matchup for the Grizzlies at all.
I don't either. And then, I just don't think they had the pieces to match up in general. When you look on the other side of the ball, when you look at the Mavericks offense, because obviously they're pretty much full of forwards and centers right now, right?
Yeah.
Really the closest thing you have to a guard that's going to be consistently playing at least decent minutes is going to be like Brandon Williams, who has been balling out. How do you think this Grizzlies defense is going to attack AD? Because you remember when he was with the Lakers and they played in that playoff series, they were sending blitzes at him. Do you think they do that again here, even though he's on the
Zach
Mavericks?
Zach Edey doesn't leave the paint. They're going to match up Jaren Jackson with him. So I think they'll basically say, hey, Jaren Jackson, press up on him. Don't worry about getting beat because we have help at the rim. So then the other the next question would be, if that is what they do, who's the one that's going to be left open on the perimeter? Dante Exum when he's in the game, probably.
Yeah.
Najee Marshall, maybe. Najee Marshall's an interesting one because he doesn't shoot that efficiently from deep, but he's also not afraid to shoot it. So it depends if the Grizzlies really just say, oh, let him have it, we don't care, or if they really defend it as a floor stretcher. We'll see. But that's how I expect them to treat AD. I think AD's going to have to basically make pull-up shots against Jaren Jackson. It's not going to be catch and shoot. It's not going to be drives. I think it's going to have to be pull-up shots, which, by the way, since they don't have a true guard, kind of like you're saying, what they've been doing is just giving the ball to AD at the top of the key and letting him go to work. They did that the first game when he was in Houston, or when they were playing against Houston, and it hasn't changed. They're still doing it now. They're not running pick and rolls. It's just pass it to AD, and then everybody figure out where you want to stand. So that's what I'd expect, and we'll see how Jaren Jackson does without fouling. I think that's the other issue. Jaren Jackson fouling Anthony Davis.
Who do you think the X factor is going to be for Dallas here?
I feel like the easy answer with Dallas is always PJ Washington, because especially in this game, he is the size mismatch at the three. The Grizzlies don't have any size at the three unless they want to run Conchar extra minutes, which I don't think they do, or they want to run an Edey, Aldama, and Jaren Jackson lineup, which we haven't seen. We've seen 80 total minutes this season. I don't even know how much of that was with the new coach or with Taylor Jenkins. So no matter which way you spin it, they have a size mismatch at the three with PJ Washington. And PJ Washington's been playing good basketball. I think it's the Mavs are being overlooked when everybody was injured, when PJ Washington was playing well. And now that Anthony Davis is there, it's being overlooked because everybody's eyes are on PJ Washington. PJ Washington has been playing very good basketball. So I think he is going to be the chess piece in this game, where as long as he's acting like PJ Washington, the Mavs have the matchup advantage.
Yeah, he's been playing with a ton of confidence, and you can see going back to even this last year's playoffs. He's been hooping, and especially with everyone being out, like he was able to really just like try and take over games. And now you got that with AD, and they're still like letting him play like how he was when everybody was out, which I like to see.
Oh yeah, and I think the other interesting thing about this matchup is with a guy like Scottie Pippen, with the way they've been using him on teams' best guards. So like last game was Steph Curry. You don't have that in this matchup. You don't have a guard where you're saying, hey, we need you to go and defend him. So defensively, it just, for the Grizzlies, it feels like unless Jaren Jackson is having a godsend game against Anthony Davis, I don't know where it makes sense for them to say, oh, they're going to shut this down. You have to do it somewhere else. Yeah, I just don't see it. And we're doing all this praising for the Mavericks. I want to come out and say right now, the Grizzlies have the better team. I like their team more. In this matchup, I think it's bad for them. So, like, the way I'll put it this way, the winner of this game goes and plays OKC. Grizzlies would make a better series against OKC, but the Mavericks are a better matchup against the Grizzlies. So I think the Mavs do take this game.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Love it. So it pretty much sums up everything that we need to talk about in this game. The Mavs just have too big of a size advantage for the Grizzlies in this one, and I think it'll catch up to them. Next up, we got the Eastern Conference side, Atlanta Hawks against the Miami Heat. I feel like we see these teams play 20 times a year, probably because they're always in play-in territory as well. And we get them again. So I wasn't able to watch too much of the Chicago game last night, the Chicago-Miami game, but we obviously broke it down pretty extensively. But what do you have from the Miami side that is worth talking about in this one?
Probably gonna be like Tyler Hero. Obviously, he was a big focal point attacking Kevin Huerter in the last game. Now going into this game, I think we see in that Hawks series so far in the regular season, he was pretty efficient for the most part, especially in the last game, which it was in March, I believe. He shot
Yeah.
13 to 17 from the field. And we watched that film back, and he was taking a lot of tough shots.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
he was just on point. Now, I don't think he could replicate what he did in that game and in that Chicago game in the first playing game. So I think someone else is gonna have to help step up here. And I don't know, who do you think that person is gonna be?
I think Wiggins makes the most sense. I think he's gonna have the easiest match because if we go across the board, Onyeka's probably gonna defend Bam Adebayo. Trae Young, they're gonna put on Alec Burks at least to start. Obviously, Alec Burks' minutes have been reduced now that Wiggins is back. They've been putting Ricochet on Khalil Ware, and Miami hasn't really tried to punish him for it. They're just putting Ware in the dunker spot, so that doesn't really make that much of a difference. And then last game they had Vic Krejci on him on Wiggins. It's probably going to be Gouye this game. So I guess the question is going to be: are they going to switch Gouye on to Khalil Ware and put Ricochet on Wiggins, or do they keep that the same way? I think you checked on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I gotta look at it one more time, but I'm
But I
pausing
mean,
it, I guess.
yeah. Either way, because I'm just looking at the Heat lineup right now. Hero's going to get the Dyson Daniels matchup, and I don't like Bam on the Onyeka matchup. I think Onyeka is kind of a slept-on defender. When you look at the tape, I think Bam shot 5 of 7 off Onyeka while Onyeka was defending him in the only game with 20 points. But it was also like corner 3 while Onyeka's helping on the pick and roll. It wasn't Bam getting in the post and going to work or sizing him up. It wasn't any of that. It was all Bam in rotation. So as long as
Yeah.
Onyeka's defending him, I don't think they're going to go to Bam to get a bucket. He'll have his spots. He plays 40 minutes. He's obviously a pretty big role in the offense as a whole. But I'm not expecting Bam to take control of this game in the scoring department.
Yeah, especially because they're both like pretty similar in size, I'd say,
Yeah.
in length. If it was Okongwu versus like a much bigger center, then I wouldn't like. I think you can go attack that matchup, but
Yeah.
because they're pretty similar, I would say Bam is gonna have a little bit tougher time. And I mean, speaking of tougher times, I mean, you gotta look at that Trae Young versus Davion Mitchell matchup. I know that's gonna be one that's gonna be talked about a lot. What do you see there?
So the first 2 games, I think I bet Trae Young's under in both of them. Those are both in February. Davion Mitchell was starting. Davion Mitchell caused a lot of problems for Trae Young. What I noticed in the third game where Trae Young seemed to do significantly better is, one, Davion Mitchell came off the bench, which should be the case here. However, he does still play 36 minutes. He comes in 6 minutes in, plays the rest of the half for both halves. But what Trae Young did really well that I liked is he knows Davion Mitchell is really good at screen navigating and beating you to the spot of the screen. So what he did is he was just baiting him into the screen and then rejecting the screen into the middle of the court. And then somebody else had to come help because Davion Mitchell was getting beat. So then after that happened a couple of times, then Davion had to overcorrect. And now he couldn't beat Trae Young to the spot. And he was getting caught behind the screen because he had to worry about that reject. So Trae Young figured out how to work with that matchup a little bit more than we expected. And that's what happens when you see the same guy 3 or 4 times, especially if they're getting the better of you. So I do expect to see kind of that chess match go back and forth a little bit. What I do think is adds a whole other layer of drama is we saw Trae Young just get, or not eliminated, ejected from the last game. Very mad at the refs. One of the funniest things that we've seen Trae Young do all year, where he like fake giving ref the ball and then dribbled off with it. So he's gonna be pissed. He might just want to come out and shot chuck.
Yeah, and that's
So I'm
honestly
excited.
what I expect here. He's got to be shot chucking. This win or go home. But somebody else has to step up, and I think that person has to be Dyson Daniels here. We talked about it before the show, and he had a plus minus of 0 when he was on the court. Everybody else is like easily in the negatives.
They lost by 25. He played 38 of 48 minutes, and his plus minus was 0. The second he came off the floor, I have it in front of me here. The second he came off the floor, 5:33 in the first quarter, did not come back into the first quarter. The Mavs outscored the Hawks 18-2 in that span. So it was very, very immediate. And again, only sat 5 more minutes in the second half, and then Orlando went on another run. So win or go home game, very clear difference. You need him defending hero. I'd be shocked if he plays less than 44 minutes in this game. Absolutely shocked.
Yeah, he's gonna have like just a quick breather here and there, but his defensive impact, we already know it. He gets his steals, he gets his blocks, he defends all the top tier players. But offensively, this is where he has to step up because his main defender so far in the regular season series has been Tyler Hero. You have to attack that matchup. You have the length on him to get your little floaters off, get the drives. And, he's had some success doing it. And I think he's going to be able to do it again.
I think the other element that goes unnoticed with Dyson Daniels is, especially since Jalen Johnson went down, he's really the only other one that can help push the pace outside of Trae Young, whether it is a rebound or a turnover or anything. Because if Onyeka or Gouye or Risa Shea, if any of them get the rebound, they're finding Trae Young before anybody looks to make a pass up court. If it's Dyson, he will go and penetrate. He will go and dribble. He'll find the next pass. So I think that was something they expected LeVert to do a little bit more since they traded for him, but LeVert's been more on the receiving end of it, where once Trae Young gets it, then he hits LeVert for that pass. LeVert is really the one starting that break. Dyson's the only other one that's doing it. So having that matchup against Tyler Hero too, he can bully Hero a little bit on the drive. Hero's not going to stop him. I think if the Hawks want to keep the pace up, which I think is their only path to victory in this one, Dyson Daniels has to be involved as possible.
Has to.
So do we think Atlanta has a chance in this one if they do keep the pace up? Because that's the other thing. Atlanta's top 5 in pace. Miami's bottom 5 in pace. So one of them has to get.
And, I think they do have a chance. So especially when you look at the season series, they both split this series 2-2 with both teams winning at home. So nobody's took one on the road, and you have Atlanta at home for this game. And then you look even further into those games. The Hawks have been playing at a very fast pace. They're 20% transition frequency for all 3-4 games, and there's just only a few games where they've had success scoring in transition, but they will continue to play at a fast pace. I just think it comes down to how well can you convert in transition, and then the other part is, can you get the others to step up as far as Dyson Daniels, Karis LeVert. Those guys have to have a big part in this game here.
Yeah, I think the Heat did a really good job defending the pace against the Bulls, because the Bulls are another team where they thrive off the chaos and the high pace. I don't know if they're going to have the same success in this one, because I think this is a unique spot where last game Atlanta tried to push the pace. It didn't work from a game plan perspective against Orlando. And then the Heat tried not to push the pace and had success. So now they're going into this next game where one team has to make adjustments, and Miami's not going to be able to react to those adjustments until they see it. I do think I think Spoelstra's a better coach than Quinn Snyder, but I do think Quinn Snyder's a good enough coach where he'll make a good game plan. It's just going to be a matter of, 1, how good is that game plan? 2, how quickly can Miami adjust? So I do expect Atlanta to at least punch them in the mouth first. The question is going to be is, will Miami be able to come back down to earth, bring them back down to earth after that and take the win? I personally do like Atlanta. If it wasn't for them having that advantage, I think Miami would be a little bit better. But I think Atlanta's more capable of making a big run to come back in a game than Miami. I think for Miami, you want to have control of the game from the start to have a better chance of winning this.
Yeah, I remember before the show, you talked about both teams play very well in the first quarter. Those are their best quarters.
They're both top 7 in net rating, plus minus, whatever you want, since the All-Star break in the first quarter, even though they're both very average on if you look at full game. So for whatever reason, the first quarter, both these teams are some of the better ones in the NBA.
Yeah. So probably from a live betting perspective, you want to see what they do after that first quarter.
Yep. So let's get into the picks then.
Let's do it.
All right, before we give you guys our favorite picks, we decided we'd give you some leans. Obviously, it's a long video. Some people probably skip to the end. So we're summarizing everything here. And one of the first things that we'll bring up is Bam Adebayo against the Onyeka Okongwu matchup, who's quietly been a very good defender against guys that aren't like towering over him. And Bam Adebayo fits this mold, so he's in a bit of a tougher spot. With that, Andrew Wiggins also gets a positive match with Dyson Daniels on Tyler Hero and Onyeka Okongwu on Bam Adebayo. Something's got to give. Overall, the Atlanta Hawks defense isn't great, so somebody's going to have a good game, and we think it's going to be Andrew Wiggins. And Onyeka, we've already been talking about him, but he should get big minutes here. Last game, he had 32 minutes, and he lost 8 minutes to foul trouble in the first half and then came out early because of blowout. He's pacing for 40 minutes. I'd expect more or less the same here, if probably more like 42, 44. And lastly, Trae Young just got ejected last game. You got to think he's going to come out pissed, start shot chucking. We've seen him do it in the play-in game so many times. Don't be surprised if it happens here. And the other game, the first thing is Brandon Williams. I put Williamson. It's Williams. My bad. But he had 18 minutes last game, a very good 18 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the same. And he's averaging almost a PRA per minute in games with Anthony Davis. He's been very efficient. His line's like 13.5. So assuming he gets another 18 minutes, there is some decent value there. And lastly, JJ touched on it a little bit. The Mavs switch everything. So if they do that and John Morant plays, again, he missed practice today, but we're expecting him to play. John Morant should be the one taking advantage of this a lot. He shouldn't have to pass out. He's not going to collapse defense and kick out. If they switch, he's just going to take advantage of his man. So now let's get to the actual picks. And JJ, you can take the first game.
Yeah, so for the first game, we got Miami and Atlanta. Gotta take that Hawks money line here. You gotta take the home court team, especially. Yeah, they may lock down Trae Young, but I think the others will be able to step up here. I don't think Miami will have enough offense to really take advantage of the Hawks because they've been playing pretty similar, I would say. I don't think Bam is going to be able to step up enough, as we talked about previously. Okongwu should be able to lock him up. So it really is that Miami offense really going to depend on Andrew Wiggins and how much he's going to really be able to do, especially with what's his face?
Gouye?
Gouye. Gouye is going to have a solid matchup defending. But I mean, really, Dyson Daniels overall on offense, 13.5 points. We're going to take the over here. He has to step up. He should be playing. I don't see him playing under 40 minutes. I think it'd be closer to 44 at least. Yeah. The offense is really going to be needed here. I don't see how else. I don't see how he wouldn't be able to take advantage of Tyler Hero as he's been doing it all season in the regular season series. And then Okongwu, double-double. Love that. He's going to get probably around 36 minutes here. Obviously, foul trouble last game in the first playing game. But I think probably 36 minutes here. And he's been getting about 16 rebound chances per 36 minutes. So you have to think 16-plus rebound chances. I think, it was like 80-something% hit rate for a double-double?
86%. For
86%?
10-plus rebounds. His point line is 14.5.
Yeah.
We're assuming he's getting 10 points anyways.
Yeah. So, I mean, love this same game parlay here. Plus 416 on Caesars.
Yep.
And,
half a unit.
Yep, half a unit.
All right. We got the next game. Plus 501, another half unit. We're taking Dallas money line. There's just way too much size for them. It's a pretty big mismatch for Memphis. And we get the upside of John Morant potentially not playing. Going with that potential, we're going to take Jaren Jackson 20 points. Honestly, we like this whether Ja plays or not because he's the only one that's not at a size disadvantage when he's on the court. And because there's so much size inside, we think there's going to have to be some shooting from the outside that occurs. And Jaren Jackson probably fits this build pretty well. So Dallas Mavericks money line and Jaren Jackson 20-plus points, half a unit plus 501. Wrap up everything that we talked about. Quarter unit on everything together is plus 3,001. So go ahead and lock all of that in. Make sure you like and subscribe. We hit Mavs plus 168 in round 1. We missed the 2 SGPs. So we're hovering close to even so far in the short playoff or play-in, I should say, series, and got a great opportunity to build off this. So go ahead and lock these in. Let's make some money, and make sure you view our playoff breakdowns for all the games starting this weekend. Take care, everybody, and good luck.